Loyal servants of the Imperium, draw near and let my voice be your beacon, a flicker of hope amidst the boundless void. I shall recount for you one of the most harrowing tales known to mankind, one that reaches across the farthest stars, and perhaps even beyond. In the vast and unrelenting void of the galaxy, where the Imperium of man stands as a fragile bastion of light, there lurks an ancient and insidious force. It is not the roaring fury of battle, nor the cunning schemes of deception, but the slow, inevitable creep of decay, embodied in the grotesque majesty of Nurgle, the chaos god of corruption and renewal. This is a tale of despair and defiance, of a foe whose power lies in the inescapable truth of entropy. To understand Nurgle is to glimpse the fragility of life and the strength required to resist its ruin. But take heart, for even in the shadow of his domain, the light of the Emperor burns bright. Let us now venture into the heart of this grim struggle, to confront the nature of decay and the indomitable spirit of those who dare to oppose it. As we embark on this voyage into the shadowy, cursed corners of the cosmos, my dear denizens of the Imperium, we must cast our gaze back to the earliest epochs of existence. Picture, if you will, an age long before the first stars pierced the void, a time when the burgeoning consciousness of intelligent beings first became aware of their own mortality. This dawning comprehension, a stark and harrowing epiphany of life's transience and death's inevitability, became the fertile soil from which the most dreadful fears of mortal hearts sprouted. These fears, my friends, laid the groundwork for a malevolent and monstrous force. Within the Imperium, a realm of pure emotion and thought, known as the Warp, these collective dreads began to coalesce, taking on a dreadful form. Born from despair and decay, Nurgle, the chaos god of corruption and rebirth, emerged. His essence is an embodiment of the deep-seated fears of all living things, a manifestation of the inexorable end that awaits each of us. Yet Nurgle's genesis was no sudden eruption, but a slow, agonizing evolution, as the anguish and dread of countless lives gestated within the Warp. It was through this tortuous process, fed by the hopeless resignation of the living, that Nurgle was birthed, a grotesque testament to the inescapable truth of entropy. The Lord of Decay takes the form of a vast, hideous figure, his body a pulsating mass of festering flesh and oozing sores. Imagine, if you can, a grotesque being cloaked in a shroud of perpetual rot, his form teeming with wounds from which an endless tide of pestilence flows. His visage, both repellent and terrifying, paradoxically exudes an uncanny semblance of paternal care, a magnetism that binds his followers to him. Nurgle's appearance is a living allegory of disease and decay, reflecting the innermost fears of those who dread the inevitable dissolution of their mortal form. Nurgle's grotesque embodiment is not merely a symbol of despair, it is also an acceptance of life's inexorable decline. His emblem, the trinity of concentric circles known as the Nurgle Triad, captures the eternal cycle of life, death, and rebirth, a potent reminder of the entwined forces of decay and renewal. For his followers, Nurgle is not only a harbinger of death, but a shepherd of rebirth through corruption, a paradoxical bringer of grotesque salvation. Deep within the chaotic Imperium lies Nurgle's despicable domain, a realm known as the Garden of Nurgle. Picture, if you will, a vast and grotesque landscape where bloated plants and grotesque creatures thrive in unnatural abundance, a twisted parody of the natural cycle of life. Here, decay and vitality intertwine in a hideous dance, forming a grim tableau of life in perpetual rot. At the garden's heart stands Nurgle's fetid palace, a ghastly sanctuary of putrefaction and sickness. Within these halls, The Plaguefather toils tirelessly, concocting dreadful new plagues to unleash upon the universe. The flora and fauna of this realm mirror their creator's nature. Mounds of pulsating flesh masquerading as flowers and grotesque beasts mutated into perverse forms of life. The garden itself is a perverse marvel, a constant reminder of Decay's omnipresence and its inextricable link to creation. Thus, the plagues born within this accursed domain are not merely tools of destruction. They stand as instruments of both transformation and faith, reshaping flesh, spirit, and belief in the image of Decay. Those stricken by his diseases often find solace in accepting their fate, seeing in Nurgle a grotesque savior. These infected souls, known as Nurgle's rotting rot, form one of the most fanatical and resilient forces in the universe. Clad in their twisted armor, the Plague Marines bear the gifts of Nurgle within their corrupted flesh, spreading his afflictions across battlefields. From simple poxes to supernatural contagions capable of obliterating entire worlds, the array of Nurgle's creations is as boundless as it is horrific. These diseases, imbued with malevolent sorcery, defy conventional remedies and stand as unyielding testimony to the harrowing might of the Lord of Decay. The servants of Nurgle are as grotesque and varied as the plagues they carry. Chief among them are the plague-bearers, ghastly demons embodying the festering will of their master. Their swollen forms, riddled with sores and pestilence, mock the vitality of the living. Alongside them march the Plague Marines, mortals transformed into walking instruments of decay. These warriors, once noble defenders of the Imperium, now carry Nurgle's blessings in their corrupted bodies, sowing death and despair wherever they tread. More than warriors, Nurgle's followers are missionaries of rot, spreading his gospel across the stars. Their unshakable devotion and the eerie vitality that sustains them make them a dire threat to all who stand against the Chaos God's foul designs. Within the chaotic realm of the Imperium, the eternal struggle for dominance unfolds, a cosmic ballet of ambition and destruction known as the Great Game. Here, Nurgle vies for supremacy alongside his brethren, Khorne, the god of war and bloodshed, Tzeentch, the god of change and deception, and Slaanesh, the god of excess and desire. Each seeks to impose their will upon the Imperium and beyond, their rivalry both unrelenting and inexorable. Nurgle's approach to power is as unique as it is insidious. Where Khorne thrives on slaughter, Tzeentch weaves labyrinthine schemes, and Slaanesh seduces with indulgence. Nurgle's dominion grows quietly, like rot seeping into the foundations of a grand edifice. His patience is unmatched, his methods grotesquely inexorable. Through disease and despair, Nurgle spreads his influence, transforming the universe into a macabre parody of life, where decay and regeneration intermingle eternally. The reach of Nurgle's power extends deeply into the hearts and minds of mortals. His plagues are not merely physical afflictions, but psychological and spiritual corruptions. To the desperate and despairing, the Lord of Decay offers an uncomfortable comfort, an escape from fear through submission to inevitability. It is this grim solace that transforms the infected into ardent disciples of Nurgle's grotesque gospel. These wretched beings, known as the Pestilence, become unwitting harbingers of corruption, spreading disease wherever they wander. Their devotion to Nurgle is a dark reflection of their broken spirits, a testament to his unyielding power to sway even the strongest of wills. Among Nurgle's most fearsome servants are the Plague Marines, former Space Marines who have succumbed to his corrupting embrace. Their once pristine armor is now a rusted shell, their bodies bloated with pestilence and their spirits utterly devoted to the Lord of Decay. These hulking warriors are not merely soldiers, but living weapons of mass contagion, carrying Nurgle's gifts into the fray. On the battlefield, the Plague Marines are unstoppable forces of destruction, resistant to pain, impervious to disease, and imbued with the resilience of their dark patron. They embody the relentless march of decay. Their weapons, infused with the foulest of Nurgle's plagues, leave devastation in their wake, ensuring that their master's influence spreads with every battle. The adherents of Nurgle engage in rituals as grotesque as they are fervent, each an offering to their patron and a celebration of Decay's unyielding power. One such ceremony is the infamous Feast of Putrefaction, where the faithful gather to revel in rot and ruin, partaking of decaying food and polluted drink in a macabre communion with their god. These practices are more than mere acts of devotion. They serve to spread Nurgle's plagues and strengthen the bonds between the worshippers and their blighted master. Each ritual reinforces the philosophy of embracing decay, transforming despair into an unholy joy that binds the cult in its dark purpose. Among Nurgle's myriad creations are the Nurglepox, living embodiments of disease and despair. These beings, once mortal, are transformed into grotesque monstrosities, their bodies teeming with infectious maladies. They are Nurgle's walking emissaries, spreading his plagues to all corners of the universe. The Nurglepox are terrifyingly effective in densely populated areas where their infections wreak havoc on entire worlds. Unstoppable and unrelenting, they embody Nurgle's patient but devastating strategy of corruption, destabilizing civilizations and reducing the grandest achievements of mortals to festering ruins. Nurgle's dominion extends even to the realm of technology and innovation. His plagues often corrupt not just living beings, but the very machines and infrastructures that sustain them. Imagine, if you will, a world where circuits pulsate with organic rot, where gears grind to a halt under the weight of noxious growths. Such is the power of Nurgle's touch, a perverse blending of flesh and metal, a grotesque mockery of progress. The laboratories and workshops under his sway churn out abominations that fuse biology and machinery, creating living weapons of unparalleled horror. These creations exemplify Nurgle's twisted ingenuity and are potent reminders that his influence transcends the boundaries of the organic and the artificial. In the warp, where emotions and thoughts take form, Nurgle's power manifests as a cloying miasma of despair and decay. Psychers, those sensitive conduits of warp energy, are particularly vulnerable to his corruption. A careless step into the Imperium may see them return as unwitting carriers of Nurgle's plagues, their minds and bodies warped beyond recognition. Nurgle's demons prowl the warp with tireless intent, spreading his influence and ensnaring the unwary. These malevolent entities are the unseen architects of pestilence, shaping the currents of the Imperium to deliver Nurgle's plagues to the material realm. For the Imperium of man, the fight against Nurgle is an unrelenting battle on every front. His plagues are a symphony of suffering, ever adapting and evolving, presenting an insidious challenge to humanity's finest minds and resources. Each new outbreak requires ingenuity and resilience, straining the Imperium's capacity to counteract the unceasing tide of corruption. The Adeptus Mechanicus and the Inquisition stand as humanity's bulwarks against these dark forces, tirelessly laboring to devise cures and halt the spread of disease. Yet even as they work, Nurgle's creativity surpasses their efforts, ensuring the struggle against him remains as endless as it is dire. His grotesque inventiveness embodies Decay's unstoppable march, forcing the Imperium into a ceaseless race against despair. Even in the face of Nurgle's overwhelming power, heroes arise, stalwart individuals whose courage defies the corruption that seeks to consume all. These men and women, whether valiant space marines or resourceful inquisitors, are beacons of resistance in the ever-encroaching darkness. Foremost among them are the warriors of the Death Guard, a brotherhood once turned to darkness, but now rededicated to eradicating the plagues of their fallen kin. These champions stride into battle, armed with an unyielding resolve. Their sacrifice is a testament to the indomitable spirit of humanity. Their stories shine like stars piercing the gloom, reminding us that no matter how pervasive the decay, hope endures. To understand the true horror of Nurgle's power, one must look into the minds of his followers. These poor souls, having abandoned all hope of salvation, embrace their despair with grotesque fervor. To them, Nurgle is no monstrous tyrant, but a benevolent father figure, welcoming them into his festering embrace and relieving them of life's relentless struggle. This acceptance transforms despair into devotion, forging an unbreakable bond between the afflicted and their foul patron. Their fanatical loyalty renders them formidable enemies, for they march not in fear of death, but with a twisted pride in their corruption. A chilling reminder of Nurgle's power to pervert the human spirit. Like the shadows that cling to the decaying remnants of life, Nurgle's existence is veiled in mystery. Even his most devout followers are blind to the full extent of his power and purpose. What forbidden truths lie within his rituals? What unholy knowledge does he possess about the universe's cycles of decay and rebirth? Such secrets are known only to the highest echelons of his hierarchy, their minds twisted by forbidden revelations. These enigmas serve to deepen the terror of Nurgle's dominion, for to comprehend the full measure of his intent is to glimpse a universe governed by rot and renewal, an endless cycle of despair. The threat posed by Nurgle is not confined to the present. It grows inexorably, with each passing day heralding new horrors. His capacity for adaptation and creation ensures that the Imperium faces an ever-expanding catalogue of challenges, each more insidious than the last. The ceaseless emergence of his plagues, each requiring unprecedented resources and innovation to counteract, strains humanity's endurance. Yet even as his shadow looms ever larger, flickers of resistance persist. For every new plague he unleashes, there are those who rise to meet the challenge, armed with courage and the faint hope of triumph against this grim architect of decay. Nurgle's dominion is not merely a physical affliction, it raises profound questions about the nature of existence itself. For within the grotesque cycle of decay, he embodies lies a kernel of rebirth, a paradox that challenges our understanding of good and evil, life and death. To his followers, Nurgle represents a grim inevitability, the acceptance of decay as a precursor to renewal. To his enemies, he is a manifestation of despair, a reminder of life's fragility. His existence forces us to confront uncomfortable truths, that in the depths of decay lies the potential for transformation, and that even in the shadow of despair, life persists. The battle between Nurgle and the Imperium is an eternal conflict waged across every level of existence. It is a war fought not only on the physical battlegrounds of decaying planets, but also within the minds and hearts of all who resist him. His influence seeps into every corner of the galaxy, a relentless tide of entropy seeking to engulf all. Yet, even as his forces march, so too do the champions of the Imperium. These tireless defenders, though battered and besieged, refuse to yield. In their courage and sacrifice lies the proof that no matter how pervasive the rot, the spirit of humanity remains unbroken, a flickering flame that defies even the mightiest darkness. Among Nurgle's servants, the demon princes are perhaps the most fearsome. These beings, once mortal, have risen through unspeakable acts of devotion and corruption to become immortal generals of his armies. Chief among them is Kugath, the Plague Bringer, a dread entity whose every action spreads Nurgle's pestilence across the cosmos. These grotesque creatures are not merely warriors, but architects of plague, conjuring maladies with the merest thought. Their presence on the battlefield heralds unparalleled suffering, their every gesture a testament to the inexorable spread of Nurgle's power. Nurgle's relationship with his fellow Chaos gods is one of contradiction and conflict, woven into the intricate tapestry of the great game. His domain of decay and renewal often clashes with Khorne's celebration of raw, martial strength as the blood god reviles the perceived weakness of rot. Meanwhile, Tzeentch, the architect of change, shares a strange kinship with Nurgle. Both embody transformation, though one through decay, the other through evolution and scheming. Even with Slaanesh, whose indulgence might seem antithetical to Nurgle's philosophy, there exists a tenuous connection. The gluttony and excess of Slaanesh's followers often lead them to Nurgle's embrace, their decadence becoming fertile ground for his gifts of disease. These interwoven dynamics underscore the complexity of chaos itself, a web of rivalries and alliances shifting like the currents of the warp. The devastation wrought by Nurgle's plagues extends far beyond the physical toll. His afflictions gnaw at the foundations of mortal societies, fraying the bonds of trust and eroding the will to resist. Entire civilizations have crumbled beneath the weight of his maladies, their populations driven to madness by the ceaseless spectre of contagion. These plagues are masterfully crafted to spread despair alongside disease, each infection a whispered promise of mortality's futility. The psychological scars left in their wake are as indelible as the physical destruction, ensuring that even as the afflicted perish, their societies bear the mark of Nurgle's touch for generations. In the shadowed recesses of the Imperium, far from the watchful eyes of the Inquisition, Nurgle's secret cults thrive. These sects, composed of the destitute and the disillusioned, offer their members solace in the form of acceptance, a grotesque liberation from fear and suffering. Their rituals are as abhorrent as their philosophy. Through grotesque acts of self-infection and communal decay, they seek to earn the favor of their god, spreading his influence like spores in the wind. These hidden movements are a persistent threat to the Imperium, undermining its stability from within and spreading the seeds of corruption where vigilance falters. The followers of Nurgle are not only purveyors of plague, but also creators of macabre art and symbolism. Their works, though revolting to the uninitiated, are imbued with meaning, reflecting their acceptance of decay as an essential aspect of existence. From the three concentric circles of the Nurgle triad to the festering idols that adorn their rituals, every creation is a testament to the grotesque beauty they find in rot. Even the plague-ridden banners of Nurgle's armies flutter with an unsettling grandeur, proclaiming their allegiance to the Lord of Decay with unflinching pride. Nurgle's reach extends far beyond humanity, touching alien races with equal ferocity. From the proud Eldar to the industrious Orcs, no species is immune to his plagues. Entire worlds have been brought low, their once vibrant ecosystems transformed into festering wastelands, where Nurgle's grotesque creations roam unchallenged. This universal impact reveals the impartiality of Decay. It spares none, recognizing no boundaries of culture or biology. To Nurgle, all life is but fertile ground for his blessings, and his influence upon these alien races only deepens the tragedy of his power. Even nature itself is not spared Nurgle's blight. His plagues corrupt the very essence of life, transforming lush forests into pestilent marshes and vibrant rivers into sluggish streams of pus. The ecosystems he touches become grotesque parodies of their former selves, teeming with twisted flora and mutated fauna. These changes destabilize entire planets, rendering them inhospitable to uncorrupted life. Nurgle's mastery of decay is not merely destructive, it is transformative, reshaping the natural world into something both horrific and fascinating, a stark reminder of life's fragility and the power of entropy. Even the void of space is not safe from Nurgle's reach. His plagues infiltrate the sterile environments of starships and space stations, turning havens of technology into chambers of pestilence. Vessels infected by Nurgle's touch become drifting harbingers of despair, their crews succumbing to horrors no bulkhead can contain. This contamination poses a dire threat to the Imperium's ability to traverse the galaxy, hampering trade, exploration, and defense. The spread of Nurgle's influence across the stars serves as a chilling reminder that no frontier is too remote, no bastion too secure to resist the Lord of Decay. At the heart of Nurgle's dominion lies a profound paradox, the eternal cycle of decay and renewal. This cycle, as grotesque as it is inevitable, defines his philosophy and his power. To decay is to die. Yet within that death lies the seed of life, a truth reflected in every plague he creates and every follower he claims. For his adherents, this cycle offers comfort, a grotesque assurance that even in the depths of despair, something new can arise. For his enemies, it is a challenge, an eternal struggle to defy the inexorable pull of entropy. Yet amidst the battle, the faint glimmer of renewal reminds us that life, however fragile, persists, even in the shadow of Nurgle's dominion. And so, dear citizens of the Imperium, as we draw this tale to its close, reflect upon the truths revealed in the face of Nurgle's unholy dominion. He is the embodiment of rot and ruin, a twisted reminder that all things must one day decay. Yet, in this grim certainty lies our greatest test and our eternal charge. You, the loyal denizens of the Imperium, stand as the bulwark against his corruption. Yours is the honor and the burden of defiance, against the creeping tendrils of entropy, against the despair he sows in mortal hearts. For every world he taints, another must be reclaimed. For every soul he corrupts, countless others must find salvation through the light of the Emperor. Take heart in the knowledge that this is your sacred duty. To resist decay is not merely to fight for survival, but to preserve the legacy of humanity, to ensure that the glory of the Imperium burns brightly across the void. Yours is a struggle without end, but also without surrender, for you are the chosen stewards of the Emperor's vision. Do not falter, even as his plagues spread, even as his cults whisper their vile promises of solace through submission. Rise above despair, for it is in defiance that humanity proves its worth. It is in your unyielding spirit that the Emperor's light shines brightest. So march forth, children of the Imperium, with steadfast hearts and unshakable faith. Let the corrupting hand of Nurgle find no purchase in your souls. Let his blight be met with the fires of purification, his agents with the hammer of justice. And let all who stand against the Imperium know this: the will of mankind is eternal, unbroken, and indomitable. For as long as the Emperor guides us, as long as we hold fast to his sacred vision, the Imperium shall endure. Against the endless tide of decay, you are the hope of humanity, the enduring shield of civilization. Take pride in this duty, for it is both our greatest challenge and our greatest triumph. Go forth, then, for the Imperium, for humanity, for the Emperor.